we went back to him with the MDC. Obviously, it's not going to be an easy start for Emmerson Mnangagwa. You've got the MDC Alliance digging its heels and basically saying that they're going to exhaust every avenue possible. Will this make a difference at all? Is the Constitutional Court in Zimbabwe the final arbiter of what happens next, basically?
Well, you can't appeal the decision.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody really expected the Constitutional Court to make a different judgment. It's a ZANU-PF appointed court, and you don't want to lose your farm, or worse. And there's a lot of contestation over the actual decision made. Was the MDC given the opportunity to open the ballot boxes, and so on. There are lots of those. And I think probably the deposition that will be made to the AU is going to be a matter of getting the record straight. I don't think they can expect anything really to happen. Back in 2004, the MDC presented a huge dossier of human rights abuses, and it hadn't gone to the Zimbabwean government for its response, so it was just let sit and lie. But I think it's good to have these things on the record, and it's also good to get the MDC to sit back and think about what to do next.
But what basis would they then have to approach this African Union body? What would they be using as part of their standpoint? Are we talking about perhaps allegations of human rights violations? Perhaps that would be what they would stand on.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of thing. But I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
So I can't be pushed any further on that one. And I think, as Peter was indicating, the different regions of the country will have different opinions. So you have Maribeleland, where people will be wanting to have that reconciliation commission going ahead and having, before the one from Parliament had some MDC MPs on it who were very good, and they're not there anymore, Jesse Majomi, for example. So that those commissions will have to be set up again, and they'll have to be seen to be honest and forthright and digging into the truths of the past, including 2008, I would think, because I think one of the reasons the Constitutional Court would have hesitated to ask for a rerun is that everybody was afraid 2008 would be rerun, and you know what happened in 2008.
That's right.
I mean, these are very difficult. What we see here, I think, is a dialectic in the classic political sense of the term between coercion and consent, democratization and militarization. And we can see that in what happened on August the 1st. And you were asking me, how did Emmerson Mnangagwa go through these phases? So the pre-election phases, the during the election phases, and the post-election phases. That would come out at the AU meeting, I'm sure. And it's quite odd that the commander of the army, the commander-in-chief, doesn't know who did it. And it's quite odd that Valerio Sabanda, who's the chief of the armed forces, says, we don't know who did it. And we have Constantino Chiwenga saying he thinks it might have been the MDC people who did it as agents provocateurs. So there's these tensions there within the ruling party. I've always said that after Mugabe is finished, because Mugabe could hold them together until he got too old and until his young wife mess things up.
That was my next point, Prof. We also heard President Emmerson Mnangagwa talk about mentioning the names of those who will sit on the Commission of Inquiry into what happened on the 1st of August. I think that's very interesting, given the fact that you spoke about the commander of the armed forces and the police themselves having their own version of events of what happened. There were also accusations that the armed forces as well as the police had fired live ammunition at protesters. What kind of form do we see this Commission of Inquiry taking, given that there are accusations that the army and the police themselves had used live ammunition on protesters?
And even people who weren't protesting, the woman who was closing her shop. I haven't heard the names of the commissioners, but
he's yet to mention that.
Oh, he's yet to mention it. Yeah, he said there will be international people on it. It could be something like when Herbert Chitable was assassinated in 1975 in an internal party dispute, which perhaps the Rhodesian security services took advantage of. So there are examples of international commissions throughout history. The Marikana Commission didn't have any they had some international lawyers which were brought in by one side, but they didn't have international adjudicators sitting on it. So that would be very important. I think and while this is unfolding, and they do take their time, it's a good way to have the actors get their act together. We've seen the police force and the CIO, which were seen to be with the G40, purged. So there would be a new police force, a new police commissioner. So it'll take time, and in a sense, it's a little bit like South Africa, because the ruling party is not unified. In fact, you could talk about three divisions. You could talk about the G40 people, and many of those G40 people were nominated in the primaries and are now MPs. We have a lot of new MPs. It's a new kettle of fish, and Emmerson Mnangagwa has at times said he fears being impeached. If there's enough G40 people there, they can say, well, you did a coup. It was unconstitutional. Come on back. ZANU-PF has well over 66% of the MPs, which I think the MDC didn't pay enough attention to the constituencies. But recall, Morgan Tsvangirai dies February 14th. The party has been in disarray for quite a while because, God rest his soul, Morgan Tsvangirai did not do a good job of handling succession. So we had 3 vice presidents, including Thokozani Kupe, and no money. The MDC had no money. The MDC got all these votes, more than 1 million votes more than Morgan Tsvangirai had, with no money. Because for one reason, the donors kind of, maybe not the Americans, but the British certainly changed their tune from supporting the MDC to supporting Mnangagwa. And again, because of August 1st, Mnangagwa and his gang have to really recover a lot of lost ground as far as international and local legitimacy goes.
So basically, if we look at any shape or form that this commission of inquiry might take, it would have to involve some outsiders that would give credibility to the process, given the fact that you've also got accusations, I guess, of the Zimbabwe Republic Police as well as the army alleged involvement in what happened on August the 1st.
Yes, and recall that the police lost in the coup because the police were seen as either G40 or Gamatox, which was Joyce Majuro. Remember those days when and the police commissioner and the high ranks were closer to Joyce Majuro and therefore became closer by default to G40. So the security forces are split. They're being remodeled. I think I heard Emmerson Mnangagwa say there were going to be international people on the commission. That would be very interesting.
To see who that will be.
Yeah, to see who's on it and what actual, does it make recommendations? Does it have any real power to make its agenda, make its recommendations?
I guess that
solid.
question is being asked about commissions of inquiry around, including here in South Africa. Professor David Moore, thank you very much for your time. Political analyst David Moore, also with the University of Johannesburg. Let's take a short break here on The Full View. More news straight after that.